Good afternoon, all of you. Sorry, good morning, all of you. Can you hear me?
Good morning, sir. We can hear you.
Okay. So in this lectures, we are going to discuss about web server and HTTP, then evaluation of HTTP structure, then evaluation of HTTP. So these are the things we are going to discuss here, right? So first of all, we are going to discuss about web server, right? What is the services? What other services are providing um, by the web servers through the internet, right? So browser, IP address, and internet, HTTP, TCP, IP, DNS. These are the keywords in here we are going to discuss. Server OS in the server side, web server software, web hosting, web pages, IP address, and there are two type of IP address, public and private, then internet, right? So what is web server? First, what do you mean web server? So web server is a dedicated computer, right? Responsible for running websites, hosting on those computers somewhere on the internet, right? So web server is a dedicated computer responsible for running websites, okay? Sitting out on those computers somewhere on the internet. So there are specialized programs that circulate web pages as summoned by the users, right? The primary objective of any web server is to collect, process, and provide web pages to the users, right? Primary objective of any web server is collect and process and provide web pages to the users mean clients. Okay. So web pages are collection of data, right? You all know about web page, right? So collection of data, including image, text file, hyperlink, videos, right? And then other database files and other stuff, right? So all located on some computer, so known as the server space, right? On the internet. So web server is a dedicated software that runs on the server side. Dedicated software, right? Run on the server side. So when any user requests their web browser to run any web pages, web server places all the data material together into an organized web page, right? So I forward them back to web browser with the help of the internet. Therefore, we can say web server is a dedicated computer responsible for running website on the internet, right? So in client side, browser interact with the web server, right? Browser, any of browsers, right? You know, there are a lot of browsers. Mozilla Firefox, Internet Explorer, now out to date. Edge, right? Microsoft Edge, Google Chrome, Mozilla, Safari, Apple Safari browser, right? Opera Mini, right? Right. So then HTTP, another term HTTP is one of the popular protocol. So it's intercommunication of web servers with web browsers, right? The web server communicate with web browser by using this well-known protocol, HTTP, Hypertext Transfer Protocol, right? So this is already, I think. So these stored web pages, right? Posted web pages or stored web pages on the server mostly use static content containing HTML documents images, style sheets, text files. So only the web pages, only static content means there's no animated things there, right? There's no animated things in the website. Only just text and images. That is the static content, right? So HTML documents, image, style sheet, and text file, right? So web server can serve static as well as dynamic contents also, right? So web server also assist in emailing service and storing file also, right? Web server not only the website, so facilitate to accessing the email and other files also, downloading, uploading, and files, right? So they are also uses some other protocols in email, simple mail transfer protocol is SMTP, then post office protocol version 3, post office, then internet message access protocol IMAP. These are the mail protocol, right? So are the uploading and downloading files using the file transfer protocol, right? Um, uh, so to support respective services. So web servers are mainly used in web hosting or hosting the website, data running web-based application, right? So web servers are mainly used in web hosting. Web hosting means that storing the website and publish. That is meaning the hosting, right? Publicly available that website. So that is the web hosting and website data to the web server, right? So, how do web server work? How to work that web server? So every web server, how to work? Do you have any idea? Is the HTTP? The HTTP is protocol that support of communication between web process and web servers. So web servers is you can call it as a HTTP server also. Most client servers today speak version 1.1. The version means HTTP version, right? But 1.0 also in use, right? HTTP 1.1. Most of the client and servers today speak HTTP version 1.1. But in one HTTP version 1.0 also use, right? In use, right? That HTTP protocol for answer of various data format between server and client. So client text, hypertext, images, video, sound, these are the contents data formats on the website. So these web pages content, right, answer through this HTTP protocol. So meta information also transferred through this protocol. Meta information means description or data about of data, right? So this description of data, right? Data means the raw facts. Metadata means or meta information means the description of data or description of information, right? Additional information, right? Related to the data or information, the metadata or meta information. So HTTP structure client send a request, then server return. This is the structure of HTTP protocol. Client send the request to the server, then servers return the reply. This is the ideal thing, right? Then uniform resources here. There are three things here we have to discuss: URL, URN, URI. URL means uniform resource locator. That your website address, that is the URL, right? www.https http://www.facebook.com. This is the URL of the Facebook, right? So uniform resource locator refers to an existing protocol. Like there are some protocols here in URL, HTTP, HTTPS, Waze, FTP, mail to, Hover, news, right? Points to document on specific server. So URL used to point to some documents on specific server. That is the URL, you know, that the address, right? Address point to the document to the specific server. So whatever document request by the user or client, so that request pointed to a specific servers. So that job done by URL. Okay. So URN means the uniform resource name, right? This subset of URL, right? URI and URN subset of URL. URN means uniform resource name. The Facebook, that is a name. Globally unique persistent identifier. So independent of locations. So URL, the identify the location of that document. So data requested by the client. So URI, uniform resource identifier, collection of URL and URLs, right? So URI, so these URL and URN are subset of URI. Okay, URL and URN subset of URI. Okay, collection of URLs and URNs inside the URI, uniform resource identifier. Okay. So, when you are typing the address on the address bar or in the browser, what will happen after that? Right? First, so any web user or client is required to type the URL of the web page in the address bar of your browser, right? So with the help of the URL, your web browser will fetch the IP address of your domain, that whatever domain you have typed, then that domain name converted to IP address by DNS. DNS means domain name system. So by looking for IP in the hash memory, the IP address will direct your browser to the web server, right? Okay. So when you are typing, first when you are typing the address on the address or URL of the web page in the address bar of your browser, then with the help of this URL, your browser will fetch the IP address of your domain name, either by converting URL via the DNS or by looking for the IP in the hash memory. Hash memory means that already that URL type in the browser and used by the clients already, then that IP address of that corresponding URL temporarily saved in the hash memory on at her or his computer. So then easily fetch the IP address of that URL. Can be taken by the browser. Otherwise, the newly fresh URL that is not already used or used in the browser, that is directed to the DNS, and DNS server converting that URL to IP address, then providing the IP address. Then IP address will direct your browser to the web server. Okay. So third step, after making the connection, the web browser will request for the web page from the web server with the help of the HTTP request, right? HTTP request, right? Web browser will request for the web page from the web browser with the help of the HTTP request. That the request done by through HTTP request. Request mean the web page, right? So the fourth step, as soon as the web server receive the request, right? If I request, or if a particular client requests the request a web page to the web server, then receive the request, right? Server received by the server, then it immediately respond by sending back requested page or file to the web browser, HTTP. So that the client maybe request a web page or file, right? So whatever server immediately respond to that client. Okay. The fifth step, if the page requested by the browser does not exist, right? Sometimes it does not exist in the web server. So what will happen if there are occurs some errors in the process? Sometimes maybe come errors, right? Maybe errors. So web server will return the error message, right? Two things maybe happen when we are requesting the page. One thing, the browser does not exist requested page, web page or file. Other things, there is some errors can occur. So at that time, web server will return an error message to the server. Oh, sorry, client. Okay. So final step, the sixth. If there are occurs no errors, right? If there's no errors occur, right? Browser will successfully display the web page or file. Okay, there are 6 steps can be done when I type the URL on the address bar of your of our web browser. After that, 5 steps can be done through these communications, right? Okay. Some example of web servers, you know, that mail servers, right? Sending and receiving mail on internet by using SMTP, Simple Mail Transfer Protocol, fetching, request, uploading, downloading files, so files transfer protocol servers, the designing, developing, publishing the website and hosting some website on the web servers, right? Okay, the web server, mail server, file server. So file server use FTP protocol. Web server use mostly HTTP and HTTPS protocol and TCP/UDP, and mail servers used to communicate with the client, SMTP, POP3, IMAP. Those are some protocol by using the mail servers. So many web servers, even the basic one, also support server-side scripting techniques. You know, the server-side scripting is a web development method used to employ script on a web server so that produce a customer response for each user. This is the URL structure, right? Scheme, then colon, forward slash, then course, then colon, port number, then slash and path parameters and something is the fragment of URL. Scheme means that protocol you are using. What type of protocol? HTTP or HTTPS. Course mean course name or IP number. The Facebook is the course name. Google is the course name. www.google.com. Google is the course name. www.facebook.com. The Facebook is the course name. Course name is the web server name. Right? Domain name. Okay. The port means the TCP port number that protocol server is using. So each and every protocol use a specific port number, right? So which port number is used in used for the used to access the server? That port number sometimes so maybe hidden, right? So parameters, sorry, path, path and file name reference of object on server. Parameters, any specific parameters that object needs. Query means query string for Common Gateway Interface Program, CGI, right? Common Gateway Interface. Fragment means the reference to subset of an object, right? These are the structure of URL and other stuff. URL and HTTP. So all parts of URL except parameters used with HTTP. So scheme and course can be omitted when reference object is on the same machine as referring document, right? Scheme and course can be omitted when reference object port can be omitted so long as reference cost is running on port listed in your that part of the service in the file in the web server is the etc slash services in the web server file path. So usually port number mostly use the 80 well-known port number to HTTP port number. Uh, so this is mostly omitted because the most of the time clients using this port to accessing the web pages or websites. That's why more port can be omitted, right? So full path used in when referring to another server. So relative on same server, relative path on same server, right? This is the description of this, further description of this key scheme, ghost, port, path, and parameters and query, right? So query passes parameters to common gateway interface. So fragment jumps to label within the page, right? This is example of the URL that HTTP colon slash fas.va.ec.lk. This is the faculty of apply science website. Then this the DPS with the our Department of Physical Science websites. This the so this file under this websites, right? This website under this website. So this is the example of a URL for your reference. You know, this is the protocol, right? This is the HTTP, right? Protocol you are using, the scheme, first the scheme, right? Before the colon, right? The protocol. Then after that, port number, the host and port number, This is because omitted this port one. Mostly use that 80. So as long as the reference host is running on port number already listed on the server file, ETC services in the server side. So that will be omitted. Then this is the domain name of the faculty websites, right? This is the requesting web page to the Department of Physical Science, the path / path, right? The path, DPS, the path, right? / DPS. Okay. So what are the contents inside the websites or web documents? So HTML contents there, ASCII text there, American Standard Code information interchange, ASCII, pre-formatted text PostScript, right? Images, GIF and JPG, OP, video, MBG typing. Virtual reality modeling language, VRML, right? Virtual reality modeling language and Java and other stuff, right? So the web documents, right? What are the files inside the web documents, right? HTML, ASCII text, pre-formatted scripting text, images, video, VRML, Java. Okay. So server tells client what type of information is coming before information arrives, right? So file extension, HTML, HTML, right? .text file, right? PostScript file, right? It's a PS, PostScript file and GIF file, MBG, VRML file, right? These are the file extensions, right? So communication, text and inline images, right? Separate object. Text and inline images are separate objects. Client browser may optionally send a list of format it can accept, right? So client browser may be optionally send a list of formats, right? The request not only include the text only, but also include other images or image file or video file, or, right? So document can be a program. Observer execute program and send result to the client. So the limited to only web pages, right? The servers execute the program also, right? Execute the program. You know, you feel that in W3 school, you can run the HTML code or other code in the website, right? Or Java or JavaScript code also run by that web server, right? The real time you can run the code in the web servers, right? You don't need to install the specific runtime environment in the computer. Nowadays, the web servers also facilitate to run the programs. Okay, so generic term for this program is script gateway or gateway script, right? So script translate input from the client. The script calls other programs, right? Actually, what are the activities done by the script? The translate input from the client, calls other programs, translate the output from the programs, and returns in it to the client. So these things are done by scripts. So gateway. So gateway translate from one protocol or services to another. So HTTP database query, So if database query result to HTTP, so vice versa, right? So translate from one protocol to another protocol, the gateway, gateway is the connecting the different network, right? So connecting different concept, right? The local area, the gateway in the computer network, the gateway connecting the different network, the local area network to wide area network, connected by the gateway. Gateway devices the router, right? So translate from one protocol or services to another protocol, right? So HTTP 1.0 is the first initial version initially initiated by Berners-Lee, Fielding and Naisland in 1995, used in a hypermedia system distributed across network. Uh, Define request or response conversation. So requesting program establish connection with receiving program server. Client send request to the server, right? Then define request response conversation. Server replies with the response. HTTP specifies index, right? Send under this HTTP version 1.0. What are things are doing in this protocol? Requesting program establish connection with the receiving program server. Client can send the request to the server. Server replies with the response, right? Does not handle network connectivity or how information is transmitted. So HTTP 1.0 does not care about so how to handling the network connectivity or how information is transmitted, right? So that will be the connectivity, network connectivity and transmitted, how information transmitted are done by TCP and IP protocol, right? So HTTP request. So what are the things inside? Method URI. URI means uniform resource identifier. Inside that URL and URN. So protocol version, optional other information. Method, HTTP slash 1.0. You can see. So HTTP 1.0 method. So under the method, get head post. So get mean return the object, return information about the object. The getter part, right? Right. So for send information to be stored on a server or as input script. Or get method return the object for sending the information to stored on the server, right? Get return the information about the object. Get. Another methods, other methods, put and delete. Put send new copy of existing object to server. Usually not allowed this, right? Delete object. Usually not allowed this, right? Mostly use this method. Mostly we are using this head post, right? So these two methods are not usually. Sorry, these two methods are not usually allowed in the HTTP 1.0. right? The get method retrieve the information from the given server, right? Using a given URI, uniform resource identifier. So get request can retrieve the data, right? Get means the getting the data, getting the data. So it cannot apply other effect on the data, right? So head this is the same as the get method. So it is used to answer the status line and KEDA section only, right? The status information about the data. The post send the data to the server, right? Post, you know, the post office, right? Post means the post. Send the data to the server. For example, file upload customer information and etc. Right? Using the HTML forms, right? The put method is used to replace all the current representation of the Docker resource with uploaded content, but usually not allowed this method. Delete also used to remove all current representation of the resources is given by the URI, right? And other methods also, some method connect options also there, right? Here only I have given 5, other 2 also available, but no need, right? HTTP 1.0, other information, user agent, and if modified since, right? User agent means that kind of user, right? Return the if modified since means the returns object only if more recent than given date. Otherwise returns status code, right? This is a return status code. Something if something will happen, the server respond to the message, right? If there's any or errors occur, the server will send the response to the client, right? The error, there's any errors or successfully received or the response message, the return. This is the status code telling that some of status code are sending by the sending by the server. So status code are telling the acknowledgement about the communication between the client and server, right? So we will see later. So what are the status code, the meaning of each and every status code, right? I think the get method, post method you have studied in the HTML, right? Isn't it? What's the meaning of get method and post method in the form, HTML form? Hello? Have you studied that? Hello? 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 Can you hear me? Pradiba, ICT 8. Where are you, Pradiba?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you have studied about the get and post method in the HTML form,
Yeah.
isn't it?
That,
Isn't it?
yes,
Yes.
sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. The same thing, right? Right. So other information, accept, right? The Mimi types which browser can accept, right? So multi-purpose internet mail extensions, like Mimi stand for Mimi, right? Multi-purpose info, multi-purpose, then I for internet, then another info mail, then Evo extension. So browser can accept what type of files, right? Text, plain text, HTML, application PostScript, image, GIF image, the image, other file extension JPG, so audio basic, video MPG type, video. Like here, two type only accept, right? GIF and JPG, and MPG type of video, right? Audio basic type of audio file. Then XWorld, that XVRML, virtual reality modeling language, right? The accepted file extension inside the Mimi, right? So authorization, HTTP 1.0 authorization, user password, right? User agent, accept text client, text plain, text HTML, application PostScript, and image GIF, right? Response, status line, HTTP version, status code reason, right? Status code, 1xx information, that is for future use. This is 1xx information, this is reserved for future use, but this is not used in currently, right? Currently, this is not used. The access codes start from 2, right? This 2xx, right? XX, whatever the number, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 2, like that, right? So action was successfully received or understood and accepted way. Uh, the server respond to the message 200. That is mean okay. 201 post command successful. 202 means request accepted, right? 203 means get and get request fulfilled, and 204 no content, right? These are the status code. Respond the server respond to the server, right? Uh, Starting the 3 status code, start with the 300 300. This resource found at multiple location. Resource move permanently. 301 302 resource move temporarily. 304 resource has not modified, right? That start with 4. The 400 bad request from the client, 400 unauthorized request, 402 payment required for the request, 403 resource access forbidden, 404 resource not found. I think you feel this 404. 405 method not allowed for resource, 406 resource type not allowed, right? And start with the 500 internal server errors, method not implemented, 502 bad key This is a server errors type, right? Errors, status code. What type of errors, right? Internal server error 500. If the server respond with the status code 500, it means it means internal server error. If the server respond the status code, sorry, respond to the client with the status code 501, method not implemented, right? 503 service unavailable or gateway timeout. This is the gateway or timeout, right? So description of information, the meta information, right? Type of server, date and time, number of bytes, what type of language, what type of encoding, which when the file was modified last, expire date, right? File becomes invalid, right? After some period, it can be expired or invalid format after some period or some of hours or seconds or days or months, whatever, right? HTTP is usually stateless protocol, right? So each request requires separate TCP connection, right? Each and every HTTP request requires separate TCP connection. So old HTTP request requested by the client uh, cannot be sent through one TCP connection. So each and every TCP request, right, using are using so will use separate TCP connection, right? Okay, so you should care about that. Uh, Server does not remember previous request also, right? So server just receive the request, then respond that request. The server doesn't know or doesn't remember about previous request done by the server. Oh, sorry, done by the specific client. Evolution of HTTP, right? These are the history of HTTP. Okay. The starting version HTTP 0.9. This is initiated 1990. So request method URI plus CRLF. Get post index.html, just file content setback, no CADA information, right? So HOBA influence is another protocol. HOBA media say single character indicated one of 10 types. So after this 1995 HTTP 1.0 introduced. So we have discuss more things about this HTTP version 1.0 in the previous slides. So meta information between client and server, meta types, the MIMI type, the status code. This information influence the development of web search engines, hashing, authorization. So these are the additional features were introduced in the HTTP version 1.0, right? Sorry, this is the 96. My mistake. I put 95, 96 actually, right? This is introduced in 1996, right? Not 1995. Then 1.1, right? Evolution of HTTP 1.1 introduced 1997, right? So byte trains, request of documents subset, adapt portable document format, streaming multimedia, eliminates unnecessary client and server communication and interrupted transfer, which is restarted can be more efficient. So evaluation of HTTP 1.0 continues. The content negotiation with quality factors. So quality factors mean the real number zero between 0 and 1. So default is the 1. So accept language, French, right, English and other stuff. Chunk encoding, transmission of streaming multimedia. One frame varies in size and composition from next streaming video. The end image transmitted in first chunk and difference to previous image are transmitted in the next chunk. The video stream transferred by using chunk, right? Protocol switching. Client can specify another protocol more suited to data being transferred. So message integrity checks, digest or authentication, right? So HTTP 1.0 uses and username and password over the network. The HTTP 1.1, the client and server never send the actual user name or password over the network, right? So this is user send the username and password over the network, right? The others can also see the username and password on that as well. But in 1.1 versions are encrypted, right? That username and password over the internet. Never send the actual username and password, right? The encrypted username and password. Persistent connection means that. Persistent means the permanent connection, right? HTTP 1.0, if a single page includes inline images, multiple frames, animation, and other external references. To browse this page would require many reconnections, right? HTTP 1.0, sorry, 1.1, there are multiple requests to response transaction per connection. Okay. If I in the HTTP 1.0, if a single page includes some this inline image, multiple frame animation, and other external reference, to browse this page would require many reconnection, right? So we can't get the whole information in a one connection in HTTP 1.0. We have to make the more than one connection to access the whole page in 1.0 version HTTP, right? But in this that problem is overcome in this 1.1. So there are multiple request or response transaction per connection, right? So clients can pipeline request to server by sending multiple requests at start of the system, right? Has management with entity tags. When body URI changes, right? Does its entity tag useful for maintaining hashes? Updated URI information would have different entity. Can tell if same resource is being has from multiple URI. It have same entity tag. Strong entity tag means changes when any portion of resources changes. One or more byte change. Weak entity tag changes only when semantic of entity body changes. So that has management with entity tags. There are some entity tags used for hash management. So strong entity tag, right? Weak entity tag. Sorry, and entity tag, right? Software multi-coming, right? These are other features. A number of available IP addresses is a concern. in HTTP 1.0, server could have multiple DNS entries and IP address, each corresponding to different documentary. So each and every IP address have only one IP address. But in 1.1, the server would have multiple DNS entries, only one single IP. So if one if so one single IP have multiple DNS entries in the server in the HTTP version 1.1, right? Then after this 1.1, 2.0 introduced in 2015. HTTP 2.0 is an HTTP connection with some additional features. Right. One secure TCP connection is set up in which HTTP requests are answered in form of streams. Right. These you can say the stream 1, stream 2, stream 3, likewise send the request to the server. Right. One after one, the request will be answered in the form of streams, right? These are the additional features of HTTP 2.0. Header pack, right? HPAC. Header data is separate from request data and can be chipped. The header pack also enables reuse of header data, which is repeated in every request. Header pack reduce the HTTP request size. Right, the bus frames enable us to send mandatory resources in advance along with an HTTP response. Bus frame should be used with care as this can lead to increased size of the HTTP response. Then you can keep on using gzip, leverage browser hashing, unify CSS to further improve the speed. Right, almost all the modern web servers support this. Right, most of the modern servers support this HTTP 2.0. So don't worry about losing users as users using old browser with support of HTTP 1.0, and meantime will be save the website over the HTTP 1.1 only. Right. HTTP 3.0, this recently introduced, right? June 2022, right? This year, HTTP semantics are used for broad range of services on the internet. So these semantics have most commonly be used in used with HTTP 1.1 and HTTP 2.0. HTTP 1.1 has been used over the variety of transport and session layers, while HTTP 2 has been used primarily with TLS over TCP. So these are the things compared with HTTP 3.0. HTTP 3.0 supports same semantic over the new transport protocol, the QUIC, right? And HTTP 1.1 uses white space delimited text field to convey the HTTP message. While these exchange are human readable, right? This format. Using white space for message formatting leads to sparsing complexity and excessive tolerance for variant behavior, right? So because HTTP 1.1 does not include multiplexing layer, multiple TCP connections are often used to service request in parallel. However, that has a negative impact on congestion control and network efficiency. So since TCP does not share congestion control across multiple connections, so HTTP 2.0 introduces a binary framing and multiplexing layer to improve the latency without modifying a transport layer. You know, the HTTP 1.0 that information in form of streams, right? Stream 1, stream 2, like in a single TCP connection. So, however, because the parallel nature of HTTP 2.0 multiplexing is not visible to TCP's loss recovery mechanism, loss or reordered packet causes all active transactions to experience stall regardless of whether the transaction was directly impacted by the lost packet, right? These are the new thing, right? That 2.0 and the 2.0 introduced in 2015. This is recently introduced 3.0. Okay. So here you have to consider about that. What are the HTTP version? So what type of data and features in every version? Main difference between the 1.1 and 2.0 or 1.1 and 1.0 and 1.1. Main difference 1.1 and 2.0, right? So you don't too much worry about that 3.0 because just recently introduced that version. So you know that that's why I have included that part, but you should know about the 1.0, 1.1 and 2.0, right? I hope you will understand something from HTTP versions, right? Okay, wind up this class. I will upload this slide today and the recorded video also. So thank you. So you have any doubt, you can ask me.